Hey everybody, it's Dave with Snake River Farms. We're getting close to St. Patrick's Day, so we're going to cook a Snake River Farms American Wagyu beef, corned beef. This is cut from the brisket. The brisket is the pectoral muscles of the beef cattle, and what that means is that, I don't know if you do this, cattle do not have collarbones, they have briskets. And that's, I don't know if you've seen any cattle, but they're pretty frickin' big. So Jesse just signaled me don't use any curse words, so that was the frick. So the brisket is cleanliness first. We're going to wash our hands. Because that brisket's used so much by the beef cattle, it's tough. So what we need to do is braise it or slow cook it. That's why, when you go to Texas barbecue, they smoke that sucker for like 12 hours. So corned beef brisket, we're going to show you how to do this. This is actually one of those things I really love. You don't get to use it that often. It's like usually a once-a-year thing. But I encourage you, make them more than once a year because it's pretty awesome. Some questions that come up. Corned beef. There is no corn in corned beef. The corn comes from an Old English term for salt. Salt corns are what are used to, well, actually not used anymore, but used to be used to cure the beef. This is covered with it's cured. So what happens we take that brisket and we soak it in saline solution, or salt. Saline solution is what you put in your contacts, I guess. But you use salt, and it goes in with all kinds of flavorful spices, garlic. You'll see these seeds, these are mustard seeds. I'm now covered in mustard seeds. And in our brisket, we have two different kinds of corned beef. One's cut from the brisket, and that other's cut from the bottom round flat. You'll see it on the side is the corned beef half round. We're doing the brisket today. This is more the traditional one. You'll see a fat cap here. You've got all this going on. So we're preparing a recipe you can find on our site, www.snakeriverfarms.com. Click the recipe button at the top, and it's going to be one that first comes up. This is by a local chef, easy for you to say, Sarah Kelly. And it is a corned beef that we're going to braise, and it's covered with, at the end, with a marmalade glaze, and it's pretty awesome. My good friend Jesse and I tried it the other day, and he gave it a thumbs up, and Jesse is a tough judge, just so you know. All right, I'm going to rinse my hands off again. So, we serve this traditionally at St. Patrick's Day, but that's an American thing. If you go to Dublin and say, on St. Patrick's Day, give me an order of that corned beef and cabbage, they'll probably look at you funny. They'll serve you lamb. They'll serve you other things. And let me see here. We have all our ingredients here. I'll be honest with you, I got here a little late, but these guys are pros and they got everything set up. So here we go. We're going to use beer, which is an important ingredient in any cooking, if you ask me, especially if we're talking about Irish cooking. What we could do with this thing is we have our oven on, and it's at a lower temperature. It's about 250. So remember, this brisket is tough, and so what we're going to try to do is get it so it cooks slow. You can do this a couple ways. One way you can cook a brisket is you can simply boil it in beer, boil it in water. We are going to sear this baby first, so I've got my heat on, and we have some grapeseed oil from Napoleon. Did you see that movie? It's pretty good. I don't think there was any corned beef in that movie, though. I'm trying to remember. We're going to take this brisket, and we're going to sear it. And what's searing? Searing is when we apply heat to this, and what that does, it's heat reacts with the sugars and the fats in the beef and the proteins, and it creates the Maillard reaction. You didn't know this was going to be a scientific show, did you? Maillard reaction is that golden brown caramelization of the beef, and it's what makes it delicious. If we were to take this and boil it, it'd be delicious because this thing has been cured. But by braising it, we put a nice layer of sear, the Maillard reaction, on there, and it's going to make it more flavorful. So this baby's heating up. This is a modern kitchen. I can feel this. My hands are a little cold. It's awesome. I can get this going. It's not quite there. We'll give it just a second. In the meantime, I'll entertain you with more corned beef facts, if I can think of any. One thing we were talking about, if you go to Ireland, this has become more of kind of an American dish or an Irish American dish. So if you think about when people came to this country, it turned out, generally the different people from different countries settled in the same areas. And it just happened that a lot of the Jewish people were in the same area as the Irish. And so in the Jewish tradition, they use a kosher beef, and many times it's brisket. Brisket's used in a lot of traditional Jewish holidays. And so the Irish, it rubbed off on them. And that they say that I read this in a history book. I'm not even kidding. I'm not making it up. Because these guys are looking at me like, you're making this stuff up, and I'm not. The Irish decided they wanted to have a celebration, and because beef is not really something that's used in Ireland, it was used by the wealthy. Like I was saying, usually it's more like pork or lamb that you might have in an Irish stew or a shepherd's pie. I think we're almost getting there. I am going to look for a handy tool, which we have here. And what we want to do when we put that thing in, we want to hear that baby sizzle. So, can we get a mic? So I'm talking about. So when you sear meat, beef, we're getting ready to braise it. It's only going to take a few minutes. We're not cooking it, we're just putting that braise on it. And because I don't have this recipe submitted in memory, I'm going to do a quick scan. We're going to add corned beef. We're going to stir on all sides. All right. So anytime you're doing the braising, we're doing the sear, and then we're going to put in liquid. In this case, it's Guinness Stout. Did we get a quality check on that? Is this Guinness okay? Yeah, we're getting a thumbs up from the team. Oh man, that's smelling really good. Can you guys smell that? Oh, wait a minute, should I put the fan on, or is that too much noise? Crew? Fine, okay. We're just going to smell up the house. So you can see this sitting in there. I put the fat cap down, it really doesn't matter. And I left the seasonings on there. We'll go ahead and let those get a little crisp too. Oh yeah, whoa. Yeah, we've got a nice brown sear on that side. I'm going to do some pre-prep here and open this beer. And in the Irish tradition, we have left this room temperature. Oops. Give me a minute here. This is the first time I've opened a bottle of beer, so there's 1, 2. When you're searing something, like this is a rectangular piece of meat, we're going to sear the big sides. And take a second and go ahead and sear the edges. I'm going to take these tongs and we'll put it up there. You want to get as much of that beefy goodness as you can. Just like on Real Chef Show, we're going to clean our spot here a little bit. Wow, I couldn't have done that if I wanted to. Well, you can really smell that mustard. So I'm just getting the edges. Whoa, that's intense. I guess that's where they get mustard gas? I'm not sure. All right. That is looking awesome. Let me just double check. We've got onions, we've got some tomato paste. So now that this guy's seared, we're actually going to take it out. We're going to let it sit here for a minute, and we're going to throw all this stuff in there. We've got tomato paste. We've got a spatula. Oh my gosh, this is a pro operation. We're going to let this go, and we've also got some chopped garlic. I just want you to know it's not like this at my house. When I show up, I've got to do all this, so this is awesome. Tomato paste adds that richness and a little bit of brightness, so we're going to get that. We're going to kind of move it in here, get these guys together. Oh boy, that's bright. So like when you make soup or you make anything, and when you have your onions, garlic, and your savory or aromatic items, the idea is we want to soften them up a little bit. And that makes them more flavorful. We're not trying to caramelize, but we do want to heat them up so they take on some of that additional flavor. And you can kind of see here the tomato sauce, or you maybe can't see. Tomato paste is going to town here. I'm going to go ahead and put this beer in. I think it might be time for me to turn the heat down. All right. So I'm using 2 bottles of beer, and we want, when we braise the meat, we want it to actually be pretty close to immersed in liquid. And if we don't have quite enough, I'll just put some water in to top it up. So there we go. And now we take this beautiful brisket. We're going to throw it right in here with the liquid. I am going to put a little more water just to kind of top things up. Oh yeah. We've got that ready to go. This is an awesome Dutch oven from our good friends at Finex up in Portland, Oregon. I'm going to turn this off, and we're going to go ahead and put this in. Now, the cook time on this is a couple hours. Usually it's about an hour per pound in your braise. So that's, I think that was a 3 pound. We'd leave it in for 3 hours. So we're going to sit here for 3 hours now. Actually, we're not. We're going to cheat here a little bit. We have one that the team has put together. And if this was really magic, it'd be the exact same Dutch oven. But work with me, people. We're going back in. We'll take a look at that one later. So this guy, still hot, is ready to go. What we're going to do, let me clean my spot here again quickly. So they say you aren't ever supposed to do this. You're not supposed to turn the back on the camera, but you know what? Take it easy on us. I'm going to move that off. We don't want it to boil. What we want to do with this is, now that this thing is braised, we want to glaze the brisket. And the glaze is, you guys have probably seen this at the grocery store. This is the Bon Maman preserves. You could use apricot. You could use orange marmalade. You'll see in the recipe it says you can use either one, and we've got both here today. There we go. Just make sure I have everything together. Okay. We have a little mustard. We have the jam. We're going to just whip that all together in this bowl. You could use any kind of jam. I mean, you know, the thing about the apricot or the orange is they have that brightness and sort of citrusy bite, which is nice. And this is probably the best brand to use. It's, you know, it's really high quality. It's more fruit than sugar, or I don't know if that's true. It's really fruity, I'll tell you that. We're going to just mix some mustard in together, and that's going to make our glaze. I think we could use a little more mustard. Mustard's one of those awesome things. It's got a lot of acid in it, so it gives you that brightness, and it's going to go beautifully with the richness of that corned beef. Oh, there's a little beer left there. Let me clean up again here. And we're going to take a look at our corned beef that is already made. I'm going to move this out. Dang, I'm messy here, you guys. Do a quick wipe down here. There we go. What do I do with these? And we're going to pull this guy out. So we've turned the oven up to 350. And that is hot. The one thing that you will want to keep in mind when you make one of our corned beef, any corned beef, there's a lot of fat inside the brisket, and so it does have a tendency to shrink quite a bit. There's nothing wrong with that. It just means that this is cooked and it's ready to go. We're going to go ahead. So there's 2 things you can do. For the sake of our demo today, I don't think we're going to do it, but you can then apply this glaze and bake it in the oven, and that sets it. It's kind of like when you do ribs and you put that final bit of sauce on there, just so it'll set up. for the sake of this demo, I'm going to just put on another coating of this. And you can heat this, and it's great. I actually sometimes serve this on the side as well, which is kind of a nice way to go. The other thing about any cut of meat, and the brisket in particular, is we cut against the grain. So what is the grain? It's like the grain in a piece of wood. It's the way that the muscle fiber runs. And if you cut it with that grain, you're kind of chewing on those fibers. We're going to cut against it, and you can clearly see that here. Let me get my tongs again. I'm going to get this side too while we're at it. Team, do we have a strainer? Okay. One thing you can do is you can also strain this stock, and then you can thicken it and use it as a gravy or sauce to go with it. We're not going to do that today because we're just not. But that's one thing about cooking. Following our recipes or any recipe, really ultimately you're the final say on everything. Do what works for you. I mean, I think that on something like this, there is no right or wrong. It's really what you're going to do to make it taste delicious for your palate. So that's what we encourage you to do. Oh my gosh, we got the beast here. Look at that thing. There's no messing around. That actually is a brisket knife. So if you were cutting a full-size pack of brisket, that would come in handy. So we're going to take a look here. In this case, our grain is running this way along the meat. I think the natural tendency is you say, hey, where's the narrow side? And I'll start slicing. If we did that, we would be with the grain, but we're not doing that. We're professionals here. And if you do that sawing action on something, it gives you those rough cuts. So we're just going to go in one direction like this. There we go. And the thing about corned beef is, you know, the classic Irish-American version is you'd serve it with cabbage and potatoes. With this stock, you could drain it, you could put your vegetables in there, and it would be pretty awesome. This looks really great, you guys. I love corned beef. I love it with the cabbage and potatoes, but I also love to do is make Reuben sandwiches out of it. I'm going to just turn this around so you can see this. I mean, this looks fantastic. Just move that out of the way, but you can see how that is lovely pink. We have a sear on the outside. We've got a little glaze going on. I'll move that out of the way. We've got an extra onion here. I'm just going to slice the whole thing. We can make sure everybody gets a little corned beef. Hey, also check out a recipe that is on there for corned beef breakfast burritos. I know that doesn't sound like the normal sort of bacon and sausage thing, but it's something that our friend Sarah makes and serves at her restaurant, and we enjoyed it the other day immensely. I think those of us who ate it declared it the best breakfast burrito we've ever had, and you're talking to people that eat probably more than their share of breakfast burritos. Well, there we have it. I'm going to leave that here. So we can see how this is. It's beautiful. The other thing is people say, why is it pink? So one of the curing agents it is used in in curing corned beef is pink, and it imparts that color. Like if this was a regular brisket, it would be brown. I'm going to taste this to make sure it's okay, because safety first, everybody. That's exactly how you want it. It's tender, but you see it still holds up. You've got that fat cap that was seared and it really has a nice flavor. The glaze imparts a nice amount of sweetness and then also bite from the mustard. That's pretty awesome. So make a corned beef brisket this holiday. The holiday being it's not 4th of July, you could make it on the 4th of July. For St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, coming right up. It's also my father-in-law's birthday. Happy birthday, Pat. It's really easy. It really is a point-shoot sort of thing. Look at the recipe, and in a pinch, you can also just put this in a Dutch oven with beer and let it simmer for 3 hours. That's fantastic. You guys are amazing. We'll see you next time. Thanks. Snake